and welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new here, and then just welcome. My name is Rusty, your American Molly Boy, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And tonight we are going to start yet another Zombie Fest. So, yes, another. I've said it before. I never really liked zombie movies until about 2 years ago. I had a few. I think I've said this on every fest, you know. I had a few, you know, I had Shaun of the Dead, and I had the Dawn of the Dead remake and Night of the Living Dead. So I had a few, but I was just never really into the genre. And then just like a couple of years ago, for some reason, I just really went crazy about zombie movies. So I've been doing a lot of catch up because they're, you know, the zombie subgenre is pretty big, as you know, if you're a horror fan. And so I've been doing a lot of catch up, and it's very fun. I just can't believe how I didn't like them before, and now I really love zombie movies. So that's why there's been so many zombie fests, but that's okay. We love zombie movies. So yeah, we're going to do a few more to get under my belt because I just can't stop. And before we move on to something else, I am starting to think about, you know, now that I've got so many, I've seen so many now, I think I can actually start working up a top 10 list. I'm going to do me like top 10 zombie movies of all times so far that I have and have seen, which I've got a very nice big collection now, so that should be fun to try to come up with. So yeah, we are going to start with this one, which is definitely in my top 10 zombie movies of all time. And that's Wyrmwood, Road of the Dead. I absolutely adore this movie from the first time that I saw it. I absolutely freaked out when I was watching it. I did have it on DVD, and of course when I watched it and fell so deeply in love with it, I was very glad to have finally found it on Blu-ray. So yes, this is the Scream Factory remaster. It's IFC Midnight, and it's Wyrmwood, Road of the Dead. Do I have to? I don't really have to, do I? If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that there is anyway, Nightmare Neighbors from Hell. So, this movie is an Australian zombie flick, and it mostly centers around a brother and a sister. And this movie begins with sort of a flash forward. We have Benny, who is an Australian Aboriginal, and we see Frank, and we see Barry, and they're sort of, I guess, sitting around talking about how this thing happened, because it's only been a short period of time. And so Benny starts telling the story. He's a really cool character. I like the character of Benny. He's well, I like all of them. I like everybody in this movie. But he starts telling the story about how his brother, and their friend was out camping, and they saw a meteor, you know, a comet, or a meteorite, and they went to sleep. They got up the next day. He couldn't find either one of them. He then found the friend who was all eaten up, and he found his brother who was now this horrible zombie. And he starts to shoot him because, you know, he doesn't want to. It's his fucking brother, right? But, you know, they come at him. He keeps coming at him, but he can't get himself to actually shoot him. So he, blows his legs off, even though he's still, crawling towards him. So that really sets up this movie because, you're like, geez, And then he asks Barry, what was his story. And Barry says, yesterday I had to kill my wife and my daughter with a nail gun. I don't really know how to make that into a story. And that was the introduction to the movie, because now, boom, we begin the movie, which starts with Barry and his wife and his daughter at the table. We also get introduced to his sister, and she is like, I guess they were her and a couple of friends were taking horrorcore photos in like a shed, at her house. So they were all dressed up in these like really horrorcore stuff. And what is her name? Brooke. So his wife wakes him up and tells him that there's somebody in the kitchen, and he goes in there. And so this is taking place simultaneously, where we see Brooke seeing her and her two friends, and we see Barry being told there's somebody in the kitchen. He goes in there to this really nasty zombie, so gory, so gory. While at Brooke's, the girl that they luckily was, chained up because she was taking horrorcore pics, she turns. And when they turn, this is definitely a 28 days later kind of zombie. The fast zombies. So, but the zombies, the Zeds in this movie are so outrageously scary. The makeup and everything is so well done. I think the Zeds in this movie are a lot more scary than 28 Day Later zombies, and I can't really think of any other. The makeup on these zombies is just to die for, literally. So, we get an introduction to them too. So of course Brooke is like dodging and dashing this girl. She manages to kill her friend, and her friend turns too. So she's trapped in this shed with these two maniacal Zeds. Whereas back at Barry's, he is like fighting with this zombie in the kitchen. His wife helps. They manage to get out. He's got, his sister calls him and is like, get out of town. Something's going on. Get out of town. And so that's what they do. Unfortunately, because we still don't really know what's going on. We're already starting to see this weird thing, and that is that the zombies seem to be exhaling this greenish type gas, which is interesting. And you start noticing that more and more. And so, because Barry had seen that, he had grabbed, the mask, the gas mask that painters wear. If you're a painter, you wear those masks. He's a carpenter. He's a builder. So he had those. So, the daughter and the wife and him put those on, and they're like driving out of town. Meanwhile, Brooke, she's fighting her two friends, and she gets then rescued by what seems to be military. A couple of military guys rescue her, which you can tell some shit isn't on the up and up with that right off the bat. Barry's story continues, and his daughter had taken the mask off for just a few minutes, just like 2 minutes or something. And the next thing you know, she starts changing. She turns really quick. So I don't think they don't change as fast as 28 Days Later, but about half as fast. So, it's pretty quick, but it's not instantaneous like it is in 28 Days Later. So him and his wife get out of the car, and she's so sick. Your daughter just turned into a vampire in the back seat, and only because she's strapped in can she not get you. You know what I mean? So she throws her mask off to puke, and he screams at her to put it back on. Well, obviously she don't get it back on in time. They continue trying to get to Brooks, which is where they were originally heading. They continue to try to do that, but then his wife starts feeling it. and she actually tells him, I can feel it inside me. And he ends up pulling over on the side of the road. His wife turns. It's like really, the scenes are really intense in this movie. So he ends up doing exactly that. He ends up having to, because he's a builder, right? So his weapon is this really cool carryable nail gun, which, you know, I mean, instead of like the one in the Nail Gun Massacre with the big backpack and all that, this is more like handy. It looks like a fucking Uzi version of a nail gun, right? So I'd actually like to have one of those. That's kind of about the weapon I'd like to use, is a nail gun. But one of those kinds that sort of like fires automatic, like an automatic weapon. So that's a very hard scene to watch, you know, when he has to take them out. And then he tries to top himself, but he's out of nails. I started to say he's out of bullets. Well, that's what they are. So he's out of bullets, but he's out of nails. And he screams, and this weird dude finds him, and he doesn't last very long, but he's a cool character, and he keeps trying to get that guy to top him, but he won't. And he's like, you know, calm down, you're a survivor. And, you know, they end up doing that. They hang together for a little bit when some real nasty stuff happens and that guy gets taken out too. And he was real cool. But he ends up making it to, I know what happened. Benny shot him. You know, because, like, they stop on the side of the road, and this is how Barry meets Benny, is that the guy runs out into the woods, and Barry runs after him, and Benny is so freaked out. Remember what happened to him. So he's so freaked out that he actually, like, shotguns that guy. And he's like, you idiot. He was, you know, and Benny felt really bad about it because he thought it was a Zed, and he wasn't. And so he, like, really felt terrible that he had just, like, blown a survivor away. So that's how those two met. And he wants to know where Benny was going. So him and Benny, they start going to this place, a friend of Benny's named Frank. So they go there, and there's Frank and this other guy, and they're trapped like Brooke was in a shed. And there's some really cool action scenes there for them to get in there. They end up getting in there, and so now you have 4. And they come up with this plan, and we get to hear a little backstory about this particular apocalypse. And that is that Frank and the other guy, they had sort of figured out that something was really wrong, because they showed it, like he got a can of petrol, and he got a can of kerosene, and he got another flammable liquid, and he, like, stuck matches to them, and, like, so no flammable liquids would work. Well, they had killed a Zed, and after he showed them that something's up, no flammable liquids are flammable anymore, he threw it over there, and it landed on the spot where they killed the zombie, and it, like, ignited. So, like, the zombie blood was flammable. You know, that made Frank, because he had one in the freezer for some strange reason. They didn't even explain, you know, like, I think it was a mate of his, right? And I don't know why, but he had him in the freezer. So every time they would open it up, you know, they noticed the gas coming out of his mouth. And Barry was like, wait a second. And he got the match, and he went over there, and that the breath, that green gas was flammable. So they came up with this idea, was like, well, is there a way to rig it up to where, like methane, we can use their breath as fuel, as, you know, to power engines, like a methane engine? And that's exactly what they do. So they literally start using zombies to power the truck. And they have this big Road Warrior looking truck. And they have a cage on the back where they put zombies in and put masks on them. and that's how they drive the truck. So it's like Z-powered vehicles, right? Now, meanwhile, we go back to Brooke's story. That fucking doctor, she is like taken to what looks like some kind of medical lab where she is being this crazy doctor. I've never seen a character that is so crazy. Gives you such a creepy vibe. But this doctor, like, you know, he's experimenting on these Zeds, and he actually puts Zed blood into Brooke. And he's done it like 3 or 4 times, and what he does is, after he does it a certain amount of time, he rams this thing up their nose into their brain that gives this serum out of it. So it's psycho. Like, you don't understand what in the hell is going on. And probably trying to militarize it is what they were trying to do. Who the hell knows? But after being done this to many times, Brooke starts realizing that she's a hybrid now, is what she is. She has been mutated by this zombie blood serum that he's been putting into her. And she is, and sort of like the Borg in Star Trek, right? In Star Trek, like the Borg Queen, she is like able to communicate with these zombies, psychically. In other words, she moves them like puppets, and can control them. And yeah, it's a very unique and wild story. So she starts figuring out, because he's going to kill her in a minute, yeah. And, probably to a Casey and the Sunshine Band song, because that's what he keeps dancing to and all. It's crazy. But she has started testing her powers a little bit, and the reason, we also find out that it's only a certain blood type that survives. So she is she's A negative. And her and Barry are both A negative, which is understandable since they're brother and sister. So they're both A negative. That's the reason they are not affected by the by the gas in the air that's changed everybody from this meteor, is because they are both A negative. So A negatives can't be turned. They can be eaten and killed, but they can't be turned. But they can become hybrids, and that's what he has just turned her into. So she uses this power, and there is actually a horrifically gory, bloody mashup when she gets the zombies to turn on this doctor and gets free. And the whole time you thought she was in some kind of bunker, like some kind of lab, but it's a traveling lab. Now, Barry and Benny had actually come face to face with this big truck. You didn't know that's what it was. With this big truck. And the 2 military guys got out of it and was like, yeah, we're going to a certain place and there's survivors there. And he tries to, but Barry can tell that the dude is lying. But the guy's just like, come on and follow us then. So Barry and Benny are following them in their zombie-powered truck. And she breaks loose. And she opens the back door. Right there is Barry and Benny. So this lab that she was in was actually this truck. Well, that was a cool twist. Because Barry is like, Brooke? There's his sister at the back of this thing. So she jumps out onto the car. Really cool. Really, really cool fucking scenes. Now, I haven't even paid attention to my notes, have I? So no telling where I'm at. But, so, they're on the loose, and of course, the military wants her badly, right? Because she's a hybrid. This is like a new thing. And it probably really gave them weapons division boner, if you know what I mean. Because that's probably what this dude was in there doing. This crazy doctor was trying to perfect hybridism, or who knows, military is going to do that kind of shit. So they want her really, really bad. and they end up sending an elite squad after her, and you end up in the woods, and it is an absolutely monstrously cool boss fight, because this elite squad that comes after them, wow, are they assholes. Right. And so they have caught them. They've got Barry and Benny, who had been shot, and he knows he's dying, and he is like chained. So Barry and Benny are chained to that truck, actually right under the cage where the zombies are kept for fuel. And, you know, they're like, we're going to kill you if your sister doesn't come out. So she comes out, and she's almost like an X-Men, which is really cool. You know, because she can like mentally call these zombies and control them. So she gets them to attack, and all kind of fighting and all goes on. While Barry comes up with the idea that what he's going to do about this is he's just going to top everyone. So he wants Benny to hand him the matches so that he can set off it, you know, the truck, set off the explosive and blow everybody up. And Benny is like, no, I have something better. I'm dying, right? So I'm fixing to be dead here soon. What I'll do is I'll stick my hand up there and I'll let this zombie bite me. I will then turn into a zombie, and Brooke can control me, and we'll turn the tables on this thing. So Barry is like, that's crazy, no. And Benny is like, well, no, you blowing us all up is crazy when there is an alternative. So he's like, give me the damn matches. And Benny throws him up under the truck where he can't reach them, and he's trying to, and he does that. He lets the guy bite him. He turns into a Zed. He can break his chains, and he, you know, shit goes pear-shaped from there. So you have like one of the 10 boss fights in this section of the movie. Total action. I mean, we're talking Road Warrior kind of like action from beginning to end in this movie, which is why I love it so much. You're not going to go to the bathroom or stop to make popcorn or nothing when you're watching this movie, because there is no downtime in this movie. And how long is it? An hour and 38 minutes. So another reason I love it, it goes over the 90-minute mark, so good to go there. But this movie fucking never slows down. It is just like, if you're going to get up and do something, you will have to pause it. And I really like movies like that are just non-stop chaos. So, although keeping it coherent, which this movie really does really well, so we end up down to like nobody, because they were like going to cut Brooke's head off. They didn't even want her. They just wanted her head. So he almost does it too, but that's when Benny pulls the zombie thing. You end up in a fight, and this was a funny scene. What is this? Where I wrote something about it? Oh yeah, I wrote Brooke has been shot, and then I wrote time for the testosterone overload. And that's because, like, the captain of this squad, he was so, I mean, I don't go into all of that toxic masculinity and shit like that, but this dude was like it. I mean, if you wanted to see it. And so he, like, goes up to Barry, and that scene that they had was like, I'm really going to kick your ass. Oh, no, you can't kick my ass. And he's like, and the captain, and this is where he fucked up, right? Because people with toxic masculinity are bullies. This is how they fuck up. Because rather than just kill Barry, which is what he should have done, he had to let his testosterone take over. And so he's like, you know what? Fuck it. Me and you, we're going to go round and round. And I'm like, oh. Even from the Blu-ray player, I can smell the testosterone, because that was retarded. But so they start going at it, beating the absolute shit out of each other. Now, during this time, though, of course, he's had to kill Benny, and zombies splattered everywhere. So the captain is like covered in blood, right? a little secret he did not know that Barry did, who has those matches in his pocket, right? So he did kind of get the upper hand a little bit and was going to like take him out. And Barry was, started laughing. And he's like, I'm kicking your ass. Why are you laughing? What are you smiling about? And he's like, because I know something that you don't. And then he struck a match and put it on him. And he went up in flames. He went up in flames because he was covered in zombie blood, which Barry knew was, flammable. So we then see him get all killed really ugly after burning, because he's still alive after he burns up. He just looks like Freddy Krueger or something. But then Brooke, she gets back up because now she's even more of a hybrid because she's actually been killed. So she's like a super hybrid now. And because you have to think about how that would work. She was not infected. She's got A negative blood. She was turned into a hybrid, made like a psychic Borg queen with it all. And then she actually gets shot and comes back. So she goes through the revival process. And it's like, what the hell is she now? But she's still cool. And believe me, Brooke looks really cool in this movie. So you then see I guess what you would call the epilogue, and that is you see another one of those lab trucks, and it stops on the road because it's being blocked by Barry and Brooke's little road warrior car. And they get out and ask, what the hell is this? And you see Brooke looking the way that Brooke looks, and Barry, and then they just start lighting that truck up, and zombies attack from everywhere that Brooke is controlling, and the movie goes off. So, and of course you know what's coming next. But, so Brooke and Barry are now are both on the loose now after all of those lab trucks, because they know the secret. All of these survivors who think they're being rescued are actually being taken by the military, or this particular arm of the military, and are being horribly mutilated and brutally murdered, and they know it, and so they're after them to do it, to stop them. And that's how this movie ends. Now, like I said, the first time that I saw this movie, I instantly knew when this movie was over. I'm like, that is one of the best zombie movies I have ever seen in my life. It just checked all the right boxes for me. It might not be for you. But then that's why our top 10 lists will all be very different. You know what I'm saying? Which is a good thing. But when this movie was over, I was like, oh man, the story. And what's funny about this story, which I thought about later, is that, like, on paper, this should not work. You know? I mean, it should not work as a serious zombie movie. It should be, if you saw a synopsis on paper, and you saw psychic bond and X-Men type powers and all of this, you would be like, so is this like a Return of the Living Dead, like, dark horror comedy or parody or something? Because that's the way it would look. It doesn't seem like it would work as a very, very scary, bloody, jump scare filled, kick-ass action movie that does have some, funny comedic elements here and there from Frank and Benny and the jokes that they say to each other and stuff like that. But it's not a comedy. It's not a comedy horror at all. It is a completely serious, and I wouldn't think that those kind of elements would work. But they did, and they worked like beyond all imagination. So, yeah. I absolutely love this, and this is definitely without doubt, one of my favorite zombie movies of all time, and it would be in the top 10, or it will be in the top 10, along with its sequel, which we'll talk about next. And because when it comes to stuff like this, if it's one continuous story, they're all the same movie to me. I know some parts might be a little better than others, but Wyrmwood, Road of the Dead and Apocalypse are one continuous story, just like 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later are one continuous story, and so they count as one story to me. So these two will definitely be in my top 10. Let me know what you think of Wyrmwood, Road of the Dead. Is it your kind of zombie movie? Because it damn sure is mine. And I will see you in the next, coming up here. Well, tomorrow in your case, but in about 5 minutes for me. I will be talking about Wyrmwood Apocalypse. And I will see you then. Always remember and never forget, you're a very, very special person, no matter what anybody says to you. Even if you do not have a negative blood and can survive a zombie apocalypse, or have cool X-Men powers like Brooke, you're still a very special person. And I will see you in the next thing I do. Bye-bye.